life. We start with anybody, so make your choice right.
Select and make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Select and make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Select and make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one.
Right, stepping right back into it because why not? It's a thing, a tradition, if you will. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newsroom and welcome to the Goutopian News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company ever. Here we go. Okay, so give me actually just the briefest of a moment. All right, and we're back. Okay, so hope you guys are all doing well and so on and so forth. Kind of botched that intro. Oh, that's not very good. But we'll pick it up. We'll pick it up. So let's see here. What are we talking about today? We're talking about today. I think it's DSP not being given the opportunity to sell out, which is wild, given all the shit that he's done over the years. Yeah, not given the chance to sell out. Okay, so dude, what? Okay, DSP has gone out of his way and alienated himself amongst other content creators and streamers, basically his peers. But then again, DSP doesn't have any peers because he's a one-man army. He's on an island of his own. He just wants to make his content. He doesn't care about what's going on around him or in the industry at large until it affects him in some type of way, shape, or form. Yada, 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 yada. But he's sitting here complaining about not given the opportunity to sell out, but he calls people who do sell out or shills, he calls them liars. He says people who are the chosen few, the golden children, if you will, of gaming, they're dishonest. They're just doing whatever they have to do to get a buck, and they really don't give a shit about games. He's attacked a bunch of people, obviously, but the biggest one he's attacked to the FGC, if not the FGC as a whole, is Maximilian, and he's gone at his neck a multitude of times. But anywho, let's dive into this a little bit further. Excuse me, by going into my favorite segment, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully your favorite segment as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my TED Talk. So, DSP is sitting there saying that he's never been given the opportunity to sell out or shill is actually bullshit, because if you know DSP's early lore, he had promoted a bunch of stuff, and he had also gotten a lot of free stuff from those things, and so on and so forth. And yes, he did pay for some of those products, or he did pay for other products from those same companies, but he was given free shit. Now, if DSP knew how to market himself, he wouldn't have had a problem with it, but he didn't do that. He completely and utterly went for self, you know what I'm saying, or did for self, if you will. And when he did have the platform, when he did have, if you want to say, the influence, he used it. He didn't use it properly. You know what I mean? Going back to the situation with Machinima, when they brought him in, and when they were like, "Hey, we're thinking about going into the fighting game community. This is around Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 4. I'm sorry. This is around Street Fighter 4, where it was really starting to pick up and whatnot. And he had a chance to get in there and be able to make something of himself outside of what he was already doing, which wasn't much, except for peddling fucking slop content. And he thought what he had was such a good thing, and he was like, no, or I don't know, or what. And they were like, all right, just let's scratch him off the list. He's just not really worth the time. Ironically enough, if you look at the current day and age of the FGC, I should say, there's rumblings going on. I don't know if anything, at the time you guys see this, I'm not sure if anything's actually come out of it. But at the time that I'm recording in September, there are rumblings of not just the Saudis, but of a shift that Capcom is really wanting to focus on the Japanese market as it pertains to Capcom Cup and maybe even further tournaments as it pertains to, you know, the Capcom series for Street Fighter 6. And that makes sense, given that that's where the real interest is, to be honest with you. Americans aren't gonna, if they really go to supposedly it's like a pay-per-view model, no one over here is gonna do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Or one person will pay for it and then they'll just stream it through Discord. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. But we're not going to want to do that here. You know what I'm saying? Keep in mind, in Asia and in Europe, they've always been strongly based in esports. Esports has fundamentally always failed here in the United States, right? Or North America especially, but you know what I mean? In the United States, it's always kind of failed, to be honest with you. All of the real money-making tournaments are overseas. It is what it is. And fighting games are no different. And I'm sure people will start bringing up the comparison about, well, not comparison, but they'll harken back to Mike Ross and be like, hey, Mike Ross was right. He is, I should say, more than he was. It's not like he's not with us. He's right and whatnot, that, you know what I'm saying, esports could very well F up the FGC. But at the same time, though, too, truth be told, they're still breaking ground with this esports thing. Now, don't get me wrong, Dota and some of these other games have figured it out, right? But that doesn't mean that the FGC has figured it out yet. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just hasn't been figured out yet. It is what it is. And then you still have the remnants of that market, or of a pockets, if you will, of resistance that still want to play with the DSP kind of DSP's kind of frame of mind when it comes to esports and the grassroots bullshit and this, that, and the third. You guys wanted more money in tournaments, right? You wanted tournaments to be wider spread, right? You wanted them to be bigger. You wanted to be better every time, right? Well, these are the sacrifices you have to make unless you guys can throw your own money into it. You guys don't want to do that, or you can't do that. So that's why you're going into that situation. Now, let's go ahead and transition back to what I was talking about with DSP. He can't sell. It's not that he didn't have an opportunity to do it. He didn't know how to do it. He damn sure didn't know how to do it properly. Just like the FGC. They don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to profit or profit appropriately off of their opportunities and whatnot. If someone presents you a deal and you basically take the bare minimum, or you don't understand the full structure of the deal, it's very rare that someone will actually explain to you how this all works and how you should get the most out of it. There's probably no one who will tell you that in a deal, honestly. You know what I mean? Well, DSP is no different. He doesn't understand how to market himself. He doesn't understand how to market himself now. He begs. He begs. So if that's the case, I could see DSP sending out emails to all these different companies trying to shill products, but he doesn't have the numbers and he don't have the reach. And it's not going to take long, no more than 20 or 30 minutes of watching a Dark Side Phil stream to come to the realization, yeah, we don't want to do business with this guy. And it's been like that for a number of years, let alone all the compilations and shit out there that's on him. He can't move product. It's just, it is what it is. He's dishonest. He has a reputation of being dishonest. He's told us he's dishonest. These are the reasons why he doesn't get those opportunities, or he can't get them. He has presented himself in such a poor way, as well as shitted on the practice itself, that screwed him over. So we've already basically spoke on one facet of it. Let's talk about the other side, and then let's move into this. DSP has criticized other people for the same reason. You go back to the State of Decay 2 debacle. You go back to him disclosing that he was given review copies or influencer copies, and not telling people that, hey, I was given this, so on and so forth. He passed it off as a viewer gave it to him, or that he bought it himself. You know what I'm saying? That goes no further than what Mario Sonic Winter Olympics. And actually, there are a couple of games just recently in the year of 2025, our current year of Gout, where people are questioning, or he's let it slip, that he didn't actually pay for the game that he was playing at that time, that it more than likely was sent to him. DSP has said over the years that copies of games are sent to him, but he never discloses it. So it's funny how he sits there and says, oh, well, if you see #ad, they're liars. He's getting sent the game. He doesn't put ad up there, but he tries to bleed you for as much money as possible. Who knows? Did he actually pay for Silksong? Did you guys see him pay for it? No. Did he pay for fucking Blueprints? You don't know that. You don't know what games DSP is paying for and what he's not paying for. And my thing is if you're supposed to disclose that thing as an ad, is that only if you're promoting the game, or if you're just outright playing it? Because if DSP is just outright playing this game from this studio that hasn't done much else, in DSP's head, well, this is a one shot and fuck them. It is what it is. If they think that I was good enough to give a free copy to me now, they'll probably do it later. This will blow over and then they'll give me another one if they get another hit game. So, you know what I'm saying? So for these more independent studios, for example, it's a one shot. Fuck it. If it's for one of his if it is for like a AAA studio, if he has to, I would assume you only have to put, or you only need to put, I should say, put ads under your videos or whatever if you're actually promoting the game. I would think. You know what I'm saying? Because once they send you the code, they send you the code. You know what I mean? And if they're only giving him the game and they're not actually paying him, and I could see in Phil's mind how that would be something different. But that's neither here nor there. But in any case, he shit on the practice and he shit on himself to make the practice beyond him. He did it to himself. And why would you want to shit on something that you yourself want to participate in? What sense does that make? You know what I'm saying? How are you going to feed these people the concept or the idea, or hit them with the pignosis, if you will, that, hey, this thing is bad, don't support other content creators who do it, and then you try to go ahead and pass it off yourself and then say, oh, well, I really need the help, and that's the reason why I'm doing it. Oh, that's right. He's done that before. He's done that before. So that's where our problems are. Well, not our problems, it's his problems. That's where his problems or issues are in that. But it's just more hypocrisy. I may talk to Diggs and try to put a compilation together of over the years of all the stuff that he's done. Interesting stuff, but he's deleting, DSP is actively deleting videos. So that's a thing in itself too. But not to say that they're mutually related or exclusive, but he is actively deleting videos and I'm not really sure what he's deleting. So it'll be, then again, there's always detractor archives. So there's a thing for that. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's go ahead and move on with this. Let's see here. Yeah, that'll work. And let's find our video in question.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, here we go. And let's go ahead and give proper introductions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Raw Phil. Big ups to Raw Phil. This was cut by Diggs. Big ups. Let's see. Darkside Phil speaks on not being given a chance or given the chance to shill and sell out. This is from May 15th of 2025. The year of the snake. Snakening. Because that's a thing. And without further ado, here we go.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to take a brief break here, everybody. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just, resting up.
Imagine saying that you have to rest up from playing a video game for just over an hour or two. That's insane.
This is not the hardest mode. No, are you crazy? The hardest mode would be ridiculously difficult. I'm not playing it on that.
I mean, truth be told, look at how much difficulty he has just playing it on normal. You know what I'm saying? He's barely able to complete games at base, you know what I'm saying, at like standard shipping level. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So let alone him going into harder difficulty. What's the hardest that he's ever played like Demon Souls or Dark Souls on? Think about that, for example.
Guys, honest question. What's going on today with support? We're at $28 with 90 minutes left on the stream. What's going on?
And you can't just appreciate what you have. I thought you said you can have a couple of bad streams and everything will be all right. You're not going to be fully destitute. You're not going to be fully destitute. So, you know what I'm saying? What's the problem? Holy shit. I got to tell you, looking back at it now, and I think as much as we laugh about it and everything now, I think in another year or so, 2026, maybe 2027, people are going to look back at the Kino Casino arc and really take heave to how much Andy and PPP in particular, buck broke the shit out of DSP. You know what I'm saying? Like, he unleashed DSP's begging to levels that we've never seen before, and the lies and everything, and all the deception that comes with that. And DSP can't go back because he's already had a taste. He's already had a taste of it. You know what I'm saying? At its peak. He's never gonna try to. He's never gonna tone it back down, ever. Where he's at is where he's at. And to be honest with you, I still think there's new ground that can be had. You know what I mean? I think his begging can still go further. The reality is whatever that next plateau is probably the last one. To be frank, you know what I'm saying? So it's something to think about. We'll see how the holidays of this year, of 2025, goes. But I honestly think there's still at least one more level to his begging, and I even have some ideas on what I think it may be. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Usually we do much better. Doom has done great. Last night people came out and were really supporting Doom heavily.
That's until you got splattered all over Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Then we all saw the results of that.
Said it was a great stream, wanted to support it. What is going on right now? Daytime stream of Doom and $28. Is it because I played too much of this game? Which is wild because so many people say, oh, everyone else is ahead of you and plays more than you. You should really focus on the new releases right away.
But he won't. The reason why that is because, one, he basically demands you guys to pay him just to play the new releases now. He's getting to that, like the opening paywall, if you will. But two, if you guys reward him for playing the game, then it's automatically in his head to stretch it out. He can't even stop that. He's like, that's something that's now imprinted upon himself, or it's something that he's conditioned himself to do. He's turned it into a complex, basically, to where now he can't stop himself from doing it. So when he gets called out on it, he's very quick to where he used to be able to lash out at that. Now he just stays mute and he just ignores it. And that comment, or a comment similar to that, I should say, is brought up in his stream chat occasionally. And he almost always avoids it because he knows what that is. He just can't stop himself. You know what I'm saying? What is rewarded will be repeated. And with that being said, if he's purposely stretching out playthroughs, and as long as you guys keep hitting the goal, you guys meaning the Dents, then he's going to keep doing it. There's no reason why, there's no real justification for him not to. And that's why he took the humiliation. That's why he took the humiliation of the whole, 40-something-year-old game journalist. Look at how stupid he is in this particular situation or that particular situation. That's why he takes it so much, not to heart, but that's why he's so hurt by it. That's why it hurts his ego so goddamn much. Because he's expecting that people in his own audience to basically rally and be like, no, we love this content, this, that, and the third. But they've all been pushed off of Twitter, or they're smart enough not to speak on it. Most of them aren't going to go on TikTok, or if they do, they're probably going to get exposed on some weird shit. So there's no point in exposing your account over there. Same thing with the gram. So what else does he really have? On top of the fact that he has all these other people that he don't know making fun of him, and he has no real way of lashing out at them or getting back at them. Most of those people were normies. They're not detractors, trolls, haters, or critics. They're normal people who see his ineptitude. And those are the people that theoretically he's trying to market himself to. But he can't because he's not relatable. You know what I'm saying? He's not relatable. On top of the fact, the fear of if he does engage with those people, he may turn them into detractors, trolls, haters, or critics. And that right there is like the ultimate catch-22 that DSP's been going through over the last couple of years. Excuse me. As much exposure, air quotes, that he believes that he's deserving of, he realizes very acutely, but he realizes that opens up Pandora's box to a whole new set of problems, a whole new set of people. If he thinks what his situation is if he thinks the situation is bad now you bring in a whole crop of people who you are not familiar with and that are not familiar with you. And if they step on in and they go ahead and build their own sub-community, if you will, and they start going at him from different angles or whatnot that he can't maneuver his way out of, he's really in a bad spot. Or let's go ahead and go back to DSP's analogy about Derek, the whole devil you know type thing, right? He thinks he can understand Duty. He thinks he can understand all these other guys who circle around him and shit. And he thinks he can somehow mitigate that. But you start attracting a whole nother group of people that aren't aligned with the current current community, if you will, or not on the current, if you will. and they're trying to make their own way, or they get a foothold in where they can establish their own way, that's where the real fear is. That's what DSP is really scared of, and he knows it. He knows it. You know what I'm saying? And yes, there could be new pay pigs or whales that could come in on that current, but then it could be something far worse than what he's already dealing with. Something to think about.
So this week I decided to do that. I said, hey, I actually will focus on this game to try to get as far as I can this week. And now look what's happening. Yeah, like literally everything I did this week is done better. The only thing that we didn't hit a goal so far this week was Call of Duty. But that's understandable. I've been playing that since the fall. And even then, that stream we did good. We just didn't hit the goal. This is like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like no one cares. Like I said, both chats seem to be at very low chat rates. Not a lot of people are talking.
But let's be honest, on the days that he does hit the goal, he's in the same situation. But he doesn't care because he can justify the money. But then again, now I think about it, there are a couple outliers where he did hit the goal or even exceed the goal. He's still bitching and complaining about viewership, even though supposedly he doesn't ever pay attention to viewership, or there wasn't enough people in chat talking to him. Huh. Well, it's a thing.
Yeah, even attendance isn't that great. We don't even have 300 viewers for Doom. Did you know that? Yeah. And exactly. And I did a higher difficulty because you guys wanted me to. I didn't do the usual default medium. So your excuse is, oh, he plays on easy mode. No, I'm actually on hard. So it's not that either.
And yet, with everything that he's stacking up to try to defend himself, he doesn't realize that it could topple either which way. Oh, man. You've got to be a sick individual to be able to identify issues or problems and yet still try to justify that they're not your fault. That's just wild. You know what I'm saying? Even some children don't act like that. Holy shit. Sometimes you just got to learn how to take the L.
The Blimp says, I'm a little overdue. I like yesterday's Expedition 33 stream. Seems like Doom is on every day. Well, it has been. I'm doing it once a day so we can get really far this week. And then next week, maybe we can even wrap it up, but I don't know. I don't know. No one seems to have an answer.
Why should anybody give you an answer on why they don't want to give you money? Just shut the fuck up and play the game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine that. Imagine you standing outside of, let's go ahead and use the sandwich analogy, right? That's a lame ass thing to do. Imagine you having a sandwich shop, right? And you're standing outside of your restaurant or your shop, let's say that. Standing outside of your shop and you see all these different customers walking past you. And you're literally out there yelling from your stoop, hey, why isn't anybody coming into my restaurant or into my shop to get food? Imagine that. Like, imagine, like think about the analogy that he always uses and then use it in that context. That's what this is. Hey, I've got all of you people on my stream and yet none of you guys are participating in any type of way, shape, or form. You're not even giving me money. Then what's going on? Like, just imagine that. It wasn't like he was paying a whole lot of attention to the people who were there, let alone was he really that grateful for the people who were giving him money up to that point. Thanks, bro. That's fucking amazing. Amazing.
No one seems to have an answer. We do have lower attendance today than we had the last three times. And obviously support is, there's been none. I mean, there's been $1.25 support since I started playing the game. You realize that, right?
And why would they realize that? Think about that. Hey, are you guys keeping a tally on how much money is being given to me at any given time? And who's on stream? And how much progress we have? And how long I've been playing? Who's there for that? If you're a dent, you're there to watch him play the game poorly because it's not like you guys have any real expectations, let alone do you have any real standards, if you will. But you got to keep track of all that too. You got to keep track of how much money he's bringing in per hour, even though if you do that, that makes you a stalker, just in case you didn't know. You got to keep track of his, how many people that are on stream, how many people are participating in the chat. Like, you know how fucking ridiculous all that shit sounds? And yet, that's literally what he's demanding of these people. Why? And he wonders why no one wants to deal with him. Crazy stuff, crazy stuff.
All the support I got came in on the podcast. Wow. Well, GamerX Rant, I think says, well, the answer is simple. People don't have infinite money, but you don't like that answer. No, because it's not valid.
How is it not valid? If someone's sitting around watching your dumbass all day, where do they have the time or the chance or the opportunity to make any money for themselves? He never thinks about that. And that's why he really hates that SSI and that disability check situation, or that meme, if you will. But it's not a meme. Well, it's a meme. A meme could be true. That's why he hates that shit so much, because he knows it's true. Because, you know what I'm saying? How is it that people are able to give you thousands upon thousands of dollars a week and they really wouldn't have a chance to unless they're playing you in the background, but they're doing it every day? You have most attractors who don't keep up with DSP day to day. You know what I mean? So where do these people actually have time for their own families, for their own interests, and to, i.e., go to school, get a job, work a job, so on and so forth? Where's all the money coming from, Phil, if everybody's sitting around watching you all day? And because he's such a... It's beyond selfish, to be honest with you. I'm going to use that term for now. But it's beyond selfish, the fact that he sits there and is like, well, if Max can make $7,000 or $8,000 a stream, why can't I? Well, one, he has like fucking almost 100 times what your audience is, first off and foremost, on any given day. And more importantly than that, his audience and his community, well, he has an audience, like I said, it's 100 times your audience. His community is an actual community. Meaning that when these people are gifting subs to themselves, gifting subs or memberships or whatever, a lot of the people that are in his community are making sure, because I've seen it, I've been on his streams, I've seen that shit. They'll make sure that as many people can get it as possible. And if a certain person that's like in the chat who's been there for a while who hasn't gotten one, they'll make sure that that person gets it. You know what I mean? On top of the fact that when Max, he sits there and buys memberships and subs for his community as well. I mean, yeah, it's his money that's going back into his coffers, but it allows them to feel like a real community. He really does give back. Most big streamers do. These are things that you don't do. You know what I mean? So it's not just the fact that they have large audiences. They have actual communities, let alone do they actually have communities that are inclusive. But also, and this is probably the most important part, let's not forget this, they're actually entertaining and engaging with them beyond give me money. And DSP doesn't fit any of those criterias. Just because you've chosen to fucking anchor yourself to doing this shit doesn't mean that you're entitled to money. There are people who stream every day to a few hundred people, if not, yeah, I'd say a few hundred people, to say the very least. And their audience doesn't give them anything. They pop up, they chat, they have a good time, and once the stream's over, it's over. And those people aren't upset bitching about shit on Twitter or wherever, whatever. They were just happy that people popped in. Then the next stream, you know what I'm saying? Maybe someone throws a couple bucks out or whatever. It's a gradual process. But you're there for this experience and the ambiance. Just because people pop up to your streams, they don't owe you nothing. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I think he treats all this shit like it's a 9-to-5. He doesn't treat this shit like it's an actual business. He treats this shit like a 9-to-5. I'm expecting to make X amount of money for my 8 to 10 hours, and I demand it. And I'm gonna, if I don't get it, I'm gonna be disappointed about it. DSP's literally said that, word for word. That's how he treats it. And that's how it kind of comes off. It comes off as an entitled piece of shit who's clocking in for a shift and is mad about it. And when they clock out, they're even more mad about it, whether they get the money or not. That's why the YouTube mode meme, it persists the way it does, because it literally tells the tale. On top of, if for those of you who watch Ann, you know what I'm talking about, the unrecorded segments where DSP is going off and incredibly frustrated, especially if he hasn't hit the goal yet or gotten close. You hear how fucking frustrated DSP is and how pissed off he is, and how he's like, hey, I've given you guys X amount of time. I've got 90 minutes left. You guys need to hit this goal before I leave. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you guys 4.5 hours of this game that you guys demanded me to play. I need my money before I clock out. Like, how do you engage with that? And who's expected to engage with that? And yet, and then even more importantly than that, now we're getting some grown man shit. Dude, the economy is not in the best shape. You know what I mean? And truth be told, it hasn't been since like 2020. But like, it didn't actually start hitting us till now. Truth be told, it might actually still get worse. But anyway, let's let's not go ahead and throw out the black pill just yet. But people need to prioritize, and DSP is not a priority, and that's what hurts him, I think, even further. As much as people think, and myself included, the DSP is massively greedy. Like, his greed is almost insatiable, right? from that same sensation, if you will, the idea that people give him money, gives to him, justifies his belief that people value him and they care about him. If they're willing to take money out of their own hard-earned pockets or Velcro wallets or whatever the fuck the situation is to give to him. So there's far more than just the financial benefit of him getting money. It's also the fact that it proves that people care about him, that he is valued, that he is important. Is that pathetic? Yeah, absolutely. It's fucking ridiculous. And what being appreciated is one thing. You know what I'm saying? Someone throws a couple bucks at you because they appreciate what you do. That's one thing. But to take that same thing and base your self-worth on it is something else. That right there is the really scary part. Something to think about.
I'm not asking one person to come to every stream and support. It's various different people who do.
But we obviously know that's a lie, and it's been a lie for a long ass time. You know what I'm saying? It usually is just one person coming through and playing Captain Save-A-Ho. It's how it always been. It's how it always will be, to be honest with you. That's why the whale call meme is a thing.
You know what you're saying doesn't make sense. That's like saying, oh, people don't have infinite money. That's right.
And if that's the case, here, I'll actually go ahead and squash that right now. If what he's saying is true, that it's not dependent on one person, you have 300 people on stream, at least on YouTube at the very least, and you only have $28. What's that say? Like, what are we talking about here, if you really think about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that, really? That's what, roughly $9, give or take, for every 100 people? Something along those lines? If you're looking at 300 people, give or take, it's like $9.33, actually, I think. So, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Something along those lines. If you really want to split his little $28 or $28 amongst 300 people, isn't that the whole reason why you're having this bitch fest now? Just asking.
So every streamer today isn't streaming. No one's been doing anything today, right? Right? There's no business today. There's nothing going on today, right? Everything's shut down because no one has any money.
Well, no, they just aren't there with you. And yet again, why does your audience have to take the blunt of that? Just because other people put out content that other people are willing to pay for doesn't make you inclusive of it just because you're there or just because you're in that field. You want an example of that? I can give you one. Go back to this whole situation at what was it? I think it was Wells Fargo, wherever that banking institution that he was at. And he was sitting there bitching and complaining about, well, everybody here is making their quota, but I'm not making my quota. Why does everybody else get the easier, you know, the easier clients or whatnot, or the most vulnerable clients, and all the guys that I deal with are really, like, difficult. Like, I really have to go through the ringer with this shit. Why can't I get a freebie like everybody else? You want another example? I can do that. Look at the FGC. Oh, how come I'm in brackets, or I'm in pools, I should say, with a bunch of killers and shit? Everybody else seems to be getting noobs. You know what I'm saying? Why don't I get a free ride through pools into brackets, and then I can actually face the best of the best later on? You know what I'm saying? Why do I have to actually deal with decent players? You know what I'm saying? Or above average players on my way up. That's weird. That's weird for someone who supposedly loves competitive games, especially competitive fighting games, to be sitting there thinking that, and yet that's something he's bitched about. That's one of his main gripes against them West Coast boys, that every time he went to a West Coast tournament, he got all killers. He didn't get the scrubs. He didn't get the noobs like everybody else was getting. He didn't get the free lunch. He wasn't invited to the buffet. He had to actually go out there, hunt that fucking thing, bring it down, skin it, clean it, and then cook it himself. Take it all in.
It's just an invalid statement. There's always a reason behind why something goes well or something doesn't go well, all right, when it comes to streaming. Sometimes it's just plain luck. Sometimes, okay, someone who did want to support happened to be able to come by that day and support. Fair.
So it's relying on one person, basically. I mean, that's what he's saying, but whatever. Let him play his cards out.
Fair enough. Well, I've done 4 streams of the game. Every stream's done well. Today, it's doing the opposite. Why?
So wait a second. So 4 out of 5 day 5 is not working out, you feel the need to bitch and complain about it? You just said, hey, it's luck. That's what he's saying. He's saying that it's luck. He's saying, hey, streaming is a crapshoot. It's inconsistent. Now, DSP doesn't think his words out, so he's obviously not going to say that because he's stupid. But let's say that he wasn't, briefly. So streaming is volatile. It's inconsistent. It's luck-based. Womp womp. I've had 4 good days, or we've had 4 good streams. Now we're going into the 5th. Things don't look well with 90 minutes left on the clock. You feel the need to bitch and complain about that? Just take the L. You're appreciative of what you have, and then we set the clock backwards, or we turn the clock back next stream. Or we reset the clock, let's say that. Turning the clock back is different. That would mean that, or imply that he was actually good at one time or another, and he never was. So we'll just go ahead and reset the clock later, and we'll try again. Think about that. And that, yet again, it goes back to what I've said. What is rewarded will be repeated. I had 4 good days, or he had 4 good days, or 4 good streams. Why isn't there a 5th? Why isn't there a 6th? Why isn't there a 10th? Why isn't there a 30th? Why isn't there a 50th? Why is there a problem now? Disregarding damn near everything that came before that when it did go well. And we bitch and complain on why it didn't. One day. One stream. That's all it takes to sit there and fucking bitch and complain about it. And not seeing that you bitching and complaining about it wasn't built on the merit of your streams or your entertainment value or your performance. You were sitting there, you were literally profiting off of other people's pity for you. And you don't see that as a problem. You take no issue with that. That's insane.
I don't bad luck. Sorry, I don't believe in bad luck like that. There's probably a cause and effect, right?
So then maybe you shouldn't treat people like shit. Maybe you shouldn't badger them over the smallest thing. And maybe they'd be a little bit more consistent with giving you money. Maybe, if you do a stream with a $150 stream goal, and maybe if you only hit 100, maybe you should just be glad that you got the 100. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. And we'll see what happens next stream. Instead of being like, we're only 50 away from the goal. You guys need to rally. Who's going to step up? Like damn near challenging people to give you money to hit a goal that really has no effect on their lives whatsoever. Cause and effect, right? I'm just asking. I'm asking for a friend.
Thank you to PokerBum31, who just gifted a sub.
Yet again, what is rewarded will be repeated.
That's our first contribution from Kick today. Let's get you on the leaderboard, PokerBomb. So now at least we broke 30. We're now at 33 of support. Only a 1/5 of the way to the goal with 90 minutes left. That's not good. That's hilarious. You make more money than bigger streamers. You're greedy. You have no idea what.
Okay. Now, I've even been, I'm at fault for this as well. It's not that he makes more money than bigger streamers. He has, how was that worded? Because it's on a Twitch, like Twitch laid this thing out of like their like top contributing streamers. But there's a addendum to that, if you will, or there's a condition to that, or terms to it. DSP has the most his viewership, I should say, when he was on Twitch, gave the most money per viewer, if you will. Like, okay, so let's reword that, let's remix it. Given the size of DSP's audience, his audience members would give more money, or were known to contribute more money than another streamer, than like another streamer's audience would. Let's reword that again. All right, so let's say DSP has 200 people on stream, right? Each one of the people on that stream would average a certain amount. That average is larger than what most other streamers get per person, per viewership, per stream. It's something along those lines. I'm sorry. I know I could definitely explain that better, but I'll just go ahead and do that for right now. Which is actually kind of wild, given how small his viewership was and still is, and just constantly shrinking. But he could pull more money out of them per viewer than larger content creators are. But then again, most of those larger content creators don't hyper focus on begging, so they didn't have to. So the reason why DSP beats them is because they themselves haven't conditioned their audience nor demand their audience to give as much as DSP demands. As small as that total is, you know what I'm saying? As small as that total is, which is what, $100 at the time when he was on Twitch, it's still, you know, to have so many people who meet that average that beats that of larger content creators with larger viewership and followings is kind of wild. You know what I'm saying? That's really, really crazy. Even though they make far more money than him in the end, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Because they just have more people who donate. They just don't have to donate as much. So sorry about that. That explanation could have been so much easier. But that's what DSP's situation is. Which is wild that you can bleed so little for so much and still damn near have nothing. That's the crazy part when you think about it. That's the crazy part.
That you're talking about. I just want to make this very transparent. Big streamers are millionaires. Do you understand?
Not all of them. Literally not all of them. That's a lie. Not every big streamer is a millionaire. Not all of them. You know what I'm saying? Now, are a lot of them clocking in the six figures or even upper six figures? Yeah. But there's more to it than that. It's not just what Twitch is paying you or YouTube's paying you or Kick or whatever. If you're on Kick, if you're not, you're definitely not in the seven figures unless you're doing gambling streams and you have all kinds of sponsorships and endorsements. And the same thing can be said for Twitch. You're definitely going to have to be in a bunch of partnership deals, brand deals, and stuff like that to make that. And even then, those who hustle as hard as they can, they still might not make $1 million a year. They may be in this. Just read a thing about this not too long ago. It's between like $500,000 and $750,000, which is still great money. Don't get it twisted and whatnot. But the work that goes into that is wild. You know what I'm saying? So not everybody's a millionaire. DSP is a piece of shit. You don't know. On top of that, DSP don't believe in saving. So since he don't believe in saving, he believes other people don't believe in saving either. Really think about that. I want you to really take that in. DSP does not save money. He believes other streamers don't save money either. Because if they were saving money, then they wouldn't stream as often. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have stream goals. They wouldn't have this. They wouldn't have that. DSP is literally, like, he's literally said those words. Fucking wild.
That's hilarious. You make more money than bigger streamers. You're greedy. You have no idea what you're talking about. I just want to make this very transparent. Big streamers are millionaires. Do you understand? The big streamers out there, they don't talk about it. They are millionaires.
They don't have to. That's the thing. They don't have to. They focus more on putting out entertaining content. Which if you do that, the money will come. You don't need to badger people daily. You don't have an excuse or a reason. I have to do this so I can provide for my family. Then clearly you're not doing enough. Or you're certainly not doing it well enough. That's not an excuse to beg. You know how humiliating that is? Just imagine if DSP had kids. Just imagine fucking how Kat feels if she still has a job. Knowing that there may be people that she works with who knows who her quote-unquote husband is and whatnot and what he does. You know how humiliating that must be for her? That's a really sad situation. But DSP don't care because he barely leaves the house. So that don't affect him. That's why she put on all that weight and he was okay with her doing it. If not, why wouldn't he try to help her take that off? He worries about his own health so much, but not hers. What does that say? Semantics.
They turn on a stream and they're making $1,000 a stream, dude. You're out of your fucking mind.
You think millionaires are made by making $1,000 a stream? Yikes. Okay, well, whatever, champ. That's okay. Oh, he's stupid.
If you think I make as much as them, you're crazy.
They make far more than that. On top of that, actually, here's the thing that he won't tell you. Because he's an idiot and he's baseline and he don't know this. He has sat there and basically coasted on a managed partnership and never thought about actually getting a contract. Now, those Twitch contracts, that's where the real money's in. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's crazy money in that. Don't be wrong. the gifted memberships and subs and all that, that shit'll carry you a long way. Look at no closer or no further than like someone like Kai, for example. Look at that. But even then, his Twitch contract must be ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? A lot of those guys who are part of that group, their Twitch contracts are probably pretty crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's where the bulk of the money comes from. Everything else is basically a bonus. You know what I'm saying? And keep in mind, your Twitch contract is the guaranteed money they're supposed to give you as long as you stay within the boundaries of that contract. All those memberships or gifted subs and all the bits and all that other stuff, everything outside of tips, all that stuff, Kick or Twitch get a piece of. They get a cut of that. So you're not going to just be a millionaire just off of gifted memberships and subs off, Twitch, Kick, or YouTube. That's not a thing. You know what I'm saying? There has to be another outside element. And what brings you closer to it is an actual contract, like an actual YouTube contract, an actual Kick contract, an actual Twitch contract. That's where the money is, at least guaranteed money at the very least. And then you just build off that. DSP don't know that because he's stupid. And it's amazing too that he's as greedy as he is, and yet he never strived to try to get that. Or maybe he has and he's been denied, which makes sense. That would actually make sense if that was the case. Because what is he actually bringing to the table?
Princess Luna, thanks for a $10 super chat. I'm enjoying the stream so far. Thank you, Princess Luna. And actually, you beat Top Super.
And see, that's the thing, actually. This right here should really tell you how beaten down, because that's really what the term is, how beaten down his audience is. The reason why DSP, especially in our current day and age, doesn't mind doing situations like this, where he's holding games hostage and all that bullshit, is because he knows if he spends enough time beating them down, eventually they're either going to open up those Velcro wallets, or they're eventually going to steal mommy's credit card, or they're going to eventually cash out what little bit of money they have. They can't even eat, you know what I'm saying, because they're giving it all to him and whatnot. These are all real things that have happened, by the way. He knows if he beats down on them long enough, it'll happen. And that, if that's not abusive, I don't know what is.
Chat by a penny. Wow.
Who was it? Well, there's a few people who've done this, but I think it was PWR who was the one who said that he literally gave DSP like his last bits, like whatever money he had left, couldn't even eat because he was giving it to DSP, which is stupid as shit, by the way. And when I understand he's a dent, but god damn, that's stupid as hell. You would sit there and put another man's hunger and priority over your own? All right, B. I got you. Yikes. Yikes.
So now we're up to 43. That's whack. Just did a $2 super chat. I'm enjoying the stream so far as well. Thank you, that's whack. Wow, Gareth just did a 20-pound super chat. Here's something to help with the goal. Thank you. Pounds
Yet again, what is rewarded will be repeated.
are worth a lot more, I think. Let me check that. I'm almost positive that pounds are worth a lot more. Let me do the conversion here. Yeah, they are. So 19.99 pounds is 26.59. Thank you, Garrett. Biggest contribution of the stream by a mile.
Oh, my theory, by the way, and I've been kind of thinking about this for a bit. The reason why he does the tip positions like that, or the conversions, I should say, which is basically just part of the tip positions, a branch of it. But the reason why he does that, initially, I thought he was trying to educate himself on the conversion, but DSP doesn't educate himself on shit, so no, that's not a thing. What he's actually doing is he's trying to condition people in his audience who may like may be outside of the country, or who may, whatever reason that they would want to convert their money into something else to tip him. He does that to give them an idea of, okay, this is how much this is in this currency. This is how much it is if you convert it to US. This is what you guys need to send me. You know what I'm saying? This would really help me out, if you will. That's why he's actually doing it. It took me a while to think about that, because initially I didn't really understand why that would even be a thing. But there are people in his audience, believe it or not, who do convert one currency into another currency so they can send it to him. Why would they do that? I have no clue. But they feel the need to do so, so it is what it is. And that's really what it's for. It's really strange.
And so that will get us up to 71. Thank you, guys. So now we're about halfway to the goal with 90 minutes left, okay? Awesome.
Wasn't it 90 minutes like 10 or 15 minutes ago? Womp womp.
Ooh. I got a burp. Excuse me. I wanted to do that away from the mic. It was disgusting.
I just muted the mic though, but nah, it's too hard to do that. Can't do that until we actually open our room door and whatnot. That's when it's a valid time to mute some shit.
This proves you have to ask to receive.
What a sad justification to beg. I have to beg, guys, because that's the only way I'm going to receive the money. It's the only other way I'm going to be able to get it. So you don't put out entertaining content. You don't have anything that's actually stimulating for the audience and whatnot, or for your viewership as a whole. I have to beg. That's the only way to get them to pry their wallets open. That's the only way that they can appreciate me. It's the only way that they can understand what I'm going through and to understand my efforts for me to keep going. Persevere, I guess, is the term that I'm looking for. I have to beg. Jesus, that's tough. That's real tough.
It's hilarious because people say, oh, it's so bad that you do this. It's so bad that you would stop and take a break and say, hey, how about some contributions? But then when I do it, it works. And then
that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it good. You know what I'm saying? What did Phil do at the end of that side scroll shit? Oh, he brought up the alleged abuse between Cat and Superman. Okay, bet. Obviously, I don't condone, you know what I'm saying, a dude hitting a female and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Not at all. Unless that chick got like a fucking gun to your head or some shit. And even then, you should be able to disarm her and whatnot without fucking, you know what I'm saying, hitting her with that Mike Tyson. But in any case, with that being said, as bad as that is, do you think putting that online as justification or a defense to protect yourself is any better? So the abuse, if it happened, is already terrible. But you weaponizing the abuse to defend yourself, you thought that was any better? You thought you were any more justified? Think about that. This scumbag took the alleged abuse that his wife and whatnot, which is not a wife, it's a roommate, it's a marriage, let alone a relationship of convenience. She's window dressing, she's window curtains. It is what it is. Fucking shield. That's literally what she is. She's a fucking shield. You sat there and you took this woman's experience, as traumatic as it was, and you try to use it, you try to weaponize it to defend yourself and justify yourself. Think about that.
I'm successful. Then
and so my bad. Let me finish my point. So he's willing to do that. So are any of us surprised that he would sit there and use the whole ask and you shall receive to justify his begging? And that's probably the new thing that he probably uses against Moist Critical, or he tries to use it on Moist Critical, I should say, in DMs, or whatever way he chooses to contact that guy. And probably anybody else who has any criticism or who has had any criticism of his begging in the past. That's sick. That's a sick type of mentality. Makes you wonder, or it makes you think, maybe, just maybe, if he wasn't mentally ill before he hit the internet didn't help him. And I'm not saying it's the internet's fault, but I'm saying that it damn sure didn't do him any favors. You know what I mean? And I'm one of the proponents of, or certainly one of the people who have advocated that the YouTube was probably the worst thing that ever happened to him. And I honestly think that. But I think a larger part of that is the internet as a whole. The internet itself was the worst thing that ever happened to Paul Burnell. It really was. And every day that he continues to exist, it proves it. And the reality is, he can't stop it. And an even sadder reality is, he can't exist without it. If you really break it down, DSP has nothing in his real life or in IRL that he values. Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing at all. He lives on the internet. He lives for the internet. It's his only place that he's ever been recognized, justified, encouraged, nurtured. As weird as that last part sounds. This is what the internet provides him. That's why he can never leave it. That's why for some of you who are like, oh, he has pride, or oh, he shows all this perseverance. Instead, he can't live life without it. He's beyond a power user. He's literally addicted to the shit. If we were in the age where you could literally like patch into the internet, like straight up VR, like you could literally, you know what I'm saying, like Sword Arc Online type shit or whatever, he'd be in 24/7. He wouldn't know how to detach. Because this is the only place he gets his stimulants. For those of you who are listening to this, for example, when you're done with this, you'll probably check out a couple other things on YouTube and then you go ahead and log off. You move along with your day. This is just a small part of what your day is. This is his day. This is his life. This is his existence. And there's nothing else past it. There's nothing else beyond it. Because he's already failed in IRL. Why would you go back to that? Like I said, something to let you compute on.
It means we could do more, meaning we can afford more. We could do better ideas for different events. I can buy things like a game.
And yet we can buy things, we can do this, we can do that, but yet we're never saving. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that a fantastic idea? He's so quick to say, give me this money so I can buy more, I can consume more, but he can never save for anything, which only justifies his begging, which only justifies the hunger that in his demand that comes from begging, and why people need to continue to support. The reason why people need to continue to support. It's an abusive cycle, if you think about it. So, let's hypothetically, of course, hypothetical pig nose is our favorite game. So the alleged abuse that Cat went through, DSP inflicts that same abuse upon his own audience, upon his quote-unquote fans. And that's why he feels justified in using it, using Cat's alleged abuse to shield himself. Because he's doing it too. He's doing it too. So if he can weaponize it and use it to further his own ends, why not? Think about that. Was that not a form of begging? Was that not telling, was that not a last hurrah to Adam, to Craig, and to the side-scroller audience in general? Hey, despite all of the things that I've said and done here today, you should still feel sorry for me. You should still feel sorry for my wife. You should try to demonize these people who treat us like this. Was that not a form of begging? Something to think about.
Can say, hey, how about some contributions? But then when I do it, it works, and then I'm successful. It's hilarious because people say, oh, it's so bad that you do this. It's so bad that you would stop and take a break and say, hey, how about some contributions? But then when I do it, it works, and then I'm successful. Then it means we could do more.
See, that's what I was trying to tell you guys earlier about how through people giving him contributions, it's more than just the money. There's an actual justification behind that. You know what I'm saying? That he is something that he takes comfort in. It means more than just the act of giving him money. There's more behind it than just that.
Meaning we can afford more. We could do better ideas for different events. I can buy things like a game on a whim. How many games have I bought on a whim in the last 6 months that I never would have been able to do that before?
How many games did you rage quit or wage quit on a whim in the last 6 months? Womp womp.
Right? Now I'm playing on keyboard and mouse with a no input delay wireless keyboard and mouse.
So what? You should have been able to do that 3 or 4 years ago. Living up to that dinosaur meme, Phil. But what does that mean? He could have done that during Vest Street.
With a better display. See what I mean? It all goes hand in hand. So if I just sit here and I say nothing, no lie, I would have made $28 this stream. But somehow people think it's like heinous villainy to stop and say, hey guys, can we get some support today on this stream that you're enjoying? No, it's not.
If they were enjoying it, wouldn't they have given that money freely? Unprompted, unsolicited, right? Isn't that a thing? I'm just asking. I don't know. I'm not an e-beggar, so I'm not really sure how all this works. I'm still learning.
It's not. You know, okay, here's what it would have been heinous villainy. If I said,
you know what, if you were justified in what you're doing, then we wouldn't need to go into all this extra, you know what I'm saying, explanations and all this bullshit. This diatribe is starting to just get old. If you feel justified in what you're doing and you're seeing the results of it, then let it go. But he's always trying to play both sides of that angle. If it's working out, if by you begging, it gives you the desired effect of people giving you money, and you're successful because of it, why is there any need to justify it outside of that? Honestly. Why bother? Assholes like me are going to criticize you anyway. Who cares? But see, because it's not enough. Because at the end of the day, him going into these explanations, knowing damn well that some asshole like me is going to see it, he needs to, almost as desperate and almost as addictive as it is to beg, and going back to the analogy about throwing out their cat's past of abuse, he needs to justify shit to his detractors, trolls, haters, and critics. He's hoping if he does it long enough, he'll be able to crack the code, so to speak, and be able to reach out and get through to one of us. It'll never happen unless it's troll remorse that's taken to the extreme. But other than that, it's never going to happen. But he still pursues it anyway because he has no other options.
I refuse to continue with today's stream unless I get contributions. Or if I said, guess what?
That's kind of what you did. You're holding this shit hostage. That's kind of what you're doing. Remember, he's had 4 streams prior to this that were all successful and hit the goal for this game called for Doom. That's the game he's playing. This 5th one, it's starting to lag behind with 90 minutes left on the clock, and that's why we're going into all this bullshit. Just making sure that our scenario is still in play.
Guys, for the rest of this stream, webcam off because you didn't contribute.
I mean, that might actually better the content, to be honest, but that's just me.
Right? That's ridiculous, in my opinion. But just to stop and be like, hey, I hope you're liking the stream.
It's a lame-ass shot at low-tier God, but whatever, it worked. You know what I'm saying? It worked. If DSP thought he could get away with it, then he'd have done it. Because Jesus Christ, you can't say he hasn't done everything else that low-tier God told him to do. Well, low-tier God never told him to do that. That's just something that he does. But you know what I mean? If LTG had told him to do it, he probably would have at least attempted it.
I'm liking the game. 4th stream of the game. I played a lot this week because I figured you guys wanted to see a lot of the new release. I don't know what's going wrong.
So no one asked for it. You just did it because, yet again, you were rewarded so far by doing this thing, so you just kept doing it. So it's not that you guys wanted this. He assumed that you wanted this. Okay. I'm just asking.
Today, can you please support? And then if people do, what's the problem with that? It really, I don't see a problem with it. You guys obviously
of course the e-beggar is not going to see a problem with e-begging. It's like that's like a fish having a problem or an existential crisis over swimming. It's in its nature. So of course the fish isn't going to have a problem with that shit. Jesus Christ.
Don't see a problem with it because you're supporting, right?
And it's almost like he has a pity sip, by the way, or not pity, cope sip. It's almost like he has glimmers of realization, of self-awareness, but it immediately gets tanked. It almost immediately gets tanked. Look crazy, bro.
And the other thing that goes hand in hand with it, all right, you have to understand that these other streamers, for example, someone just said, I see streamers who have 200 to 700 viewers, but they don't ask for contributions and stuff. Okay, do they have mass slander about them on the internet?
So isn't this pushing the goalpost back? I thought all the big popular streamers were multimillionaires, or at least millionaires. Now he's saying, so now someone throws up something saying, well, what about all the guys who are between 200 and 700 in viewership or whatever? Oh, well, do they have this? Do they have that? I'm sure everybody has a villain in their story somewhere, if they're not a villain to someone else. So how does that have any real effect in you getting contributions from the people who are already there watching you and already contributing? See, now we're talking about something different. He's basically trying to say, hey, I have to beg because I can't bring in new people and give them a sob story to give me more money. I have to keep begging to keep you idiots to keep giving me money. And I'm going to use this detractor narrative, if you will, to go ahead and justify it. Okay, like we haven't seen this before, and it didn't work then. It doesn't work now. Well, I guess it kind of does, because you do have a demographic of dents who will give him money purely out of despite detractors. I guess that is a thing. It's not that I guess, it is a thing. I mean, shit, there's been a couple of them who even admitted they don't even watch DSP anymore. They just give him money just because they think he'll get a rise out of detractors, which is absolutely fucking stupid, by the way. Like, I don't even care to remember their names right now. Hence, that show you how little I care about that. So, yeah, good job on that.
They have a group of stalkish weirdos who try to ruin their lives and make it so that they can't do things outside of the stream.
Who's preventing you from doing anything? Like, who's really holding Phil Burnell back? Don't you live in that fucking amazing gated community that it's illegal to even be walking on his sidewalk? You can immediately be arrested, even though there's literally no proof of that whatsoever. That's not how a gated community works and whatnot. Now, a private community is two separate things, but DSP don't know this because he's stupid. So, like, if you guys went to I'll name one in particular just off the top of my head, like a place like Cherry Oaks, for example, that right there is an exclusive community, meaning that if you don't live there, if you don't know no one there, and if you're not on the list with the, you know what I'm saying, the fucking 2 to 4 security guards that are at each one of those entries to get in there, you're not getting it. You're not getting in. And then once you're in there, you can, if needed, you can literally be escorted while you're still in your car, obviously. You can literally be escorted by a guard who's either, this is so crazy, whether they're either walking next to you or they're in an actual golf cart and lead you right to that residence and whatnot. And then you can even request for that same guard to come back and get you when it's time for you to leave later. And then it gets even sillier than that. If you're, because depending on the community, obviously, if you're there over an extended period of time, let's say like a few days or whatever, you have to notify the community of that. So this way the security guards know, or whatever. And so so this way they can kind of like register your vehicle into their system so they know. You know what I'm saying? So you can be able to kind of come and go freely as you will. You know what I mean? Like that's what a real exclusive private community is. Not your basic everyday gated community and shit that most places are. It's not that big of a deal. If you got the gate code, you can get in. It's not that serious. It's really not. But that's what he thinks. And he's stupid. A couple of years ago, he said it wasn't even legal to trick or treat in his neighborhood. What sense does that make? But semantics.
Because those people likely, gee, let's see, get sponsorships, get partnerships, go to conventions and do signings. They get to do stuff.
You could do those things. Well, not the sponsorships and endorsements per se. But if he wanted to go to conventions, he could go to Apex. Like, isn't Apex free for pretty much everybody? He can do that if he wanted to. I'm sure he could. Well, he might have to pay to get into VidCon. Actually, he would. He'd have to pay to get into VidCon and some of those other things, but there's nothing preventing him from doing that. There's literally nothing preventing him from doing that. He won't go because he's an overall laughingstock. He's not just worried about detractors, trolls, haters, and critics. He's worried about anybody of prominence who may recognize him. That's his own fault. No one told you to live in fear like this. You put yourself there. And that goes back to that dumb shit that he had said about Evil AJ all those years about because he made a "this is how you don't play" on him. He was scared that Evil AJ was going to come to his fucking house and try to murder him. It was back when DSP was in the Connecticut condo when he said that ridiculous shit. Fucking retarded. But he really meant it. So make of that what you will.
Stuff that I can't do. You know, if I was able to do those things, literally, I probably would have gotten this game early and got paid to play it by id.
Yeah, but that would make you a shill and a sellout, though. So, and that would make you dishonest. #ad, dude. So, what's your point? So you're going to suck off the game leading up to its release, and that right there would justify that you really liked the game or you really cared about it? Matter of fact, let's go a little further with that. If he was paid to play the game, would he still beg? If he was paid to play the game, would he actually tell you guys that? Because why leave money on the table? Let me further my thought on that. If DSP was paid to play this game, you really think he would not beg for contributions too? he probably wouldn't even tell them that. And as I said earlier, he's kind of been caught, so to speak. He's kind of been caught playing games that were actually sent to him, whether they were influencer copies or advanced copies or whatever, or review copies. And he didn't disclose it. He didn't disclose it until something put him in a position where he essentially had to come out with it. If he did it then, why wouldn't he do it now? Something about it.
A lot of people did. I don't get those opportunities because of the crazy idiots on the internet. So instead, I do what I do. I don't.
I'm forced to beg. I'm forced to do what I do. Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, fair enough. All right.
See the problem with it.
You heard it there. He doesn't see a problem with begging. Here, let me bring that back for you. You don't see a problem with it. I mean, he recognized that he had a problem though when Moist Critical called that out, but semantics. Let's not bring up Sir Moist in this whole situation. It's not that deep.
I don't get those opportunities because of the crazy idiots on the internet. So instead, I do what I do. I don't see the problem with it. You know, who are the people who are upset about it? People who don't like me for various stupid reasons that don't make sense. And
even though he's admitted that a lot of the criticism that was posed against him over the years was justified, and he didn't want to agree with it because he thought his shit didn't stink and he thought he put out the best content. So he thought if he ignored it, it would go away. Semantics.
Quite frankly, never would have supported and shouldn't be around if they don't like me.
So if you're not giving him money, you don't have a right to criticize him. And if if you don't like him, you should also not criticize him. You should just go away. You should just disappear. So either you're sucking him off or you're sucking him off and giving him money. And if you don't fall into any one of those categories, you have no right to speak on him. You should just leave. Huh. Okay. All right, fair enough. Now, this is the same guy who criticizes other content creators and streamers that he don't watch, allegedly, but he feels justified in criticizing them. He feels justified in critiquing them. He feels justified in lying on them and calling them liars and saying that they're not real gamers. They don't really care about their audiences. Why would you give money to millionaires and so on and so forth and whatnot? And he's completely and utterly justified in doing that. But if someone does it to him, you're wrong. You're mentally unwell and you're morally corrupt. You're compromised. And you should know better. Okay. Sure. Okay, that's an interesting way of going about it.
You know what I mean? Like, why are you here if you don't like the content or you don't like the way that I
beg?
You know,
beg?
Make my content.
Beg. You don't make anything. You just beg.
What's the problem? If I'm successful, right? And no, by the way,
who's the one who measures your success? I mean, just because you keep saying you're successful doesn't make you successful. Just because you keep saying that you're honest doesn't make you honest. Just you saying that you and Kat have this loving, caring marriage doesn't make that true either. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there.
The content I'm making isn't offensive or hurtful to anyone.
The fact that the first thing that comes to his mind is offensive or hurtful is crazy. That's the crazy part. Why doesn't he ever say, hey, my content's entertaining? Hey, people love my content. People love what I do. Instead, my content isn't offensive or hurtful. The first two things that come out of his fucking snout is a negative. Why is that? Something to think about.
Do you see me sitting here completely?
So was Max, now that I think about it, so was Max's content hateful or disruptive or offensive because he has sponsorships and endorsements? And yet DSP has directly criticized Max for having sponsorships and endorsements. But he says his content isn't hurtful or hateful. Is Max's? I'm just asking.
Destroying people on the internet, defaming them, trying to ruin their lives and making people go mass harass them. No, I'm playing Doom.
You did that with Review Tech USA, actually, now I think about it. Not to say that you encourage people to harass them. There was already people doing that. But if you mean harassment, meaning making videos criticizing the guy, then whatever. I don't know how that's actually harassment, but make of that what you will.
Right? That's who you should be worried about. The people who are literally make a living by harassing others and fucking with their lives.
So now we're pig whistling against detractors, trolls, haters, and critics, and apparently Kino Casino. I thought he said he doesn't make content that forces people or encourages people to go after other people, while he's pig whistling saying you should go after these people because they do this thing. Here, let me bring that back. Maybe I'm lying. Maybe I missed something.
Harass them. No, I'm playing Doom. Right? That's who you should be worried about.
Oh, let's bring that back. I went back. I didn't go back far enough. My fault.
Content I'm making isn't offensive or hurtful to anyone. Do you see me sitting here completely destroying people on the internet, defaming them, trying to ruin their lives and making people go mass harass them? No, I'm playing Doom. Right? That's who you should be worried about. The people who are literally make a living by harassing others and fucking with their lives. Why don't you go after them? Well, Phil took a 10-minute break to talk about, hey, will people contribute? Wow, I really hurt a lot of people there, didn't I? Just think of the people.
And here's the thing, though, too. If you watched enough of his content, if you know your lore, this is nothing new to you. But in 2010 and 2012, maybe even 2014, he might have been able to get away with that. There might have been a demographic in his audience who would have actually tried to go after those people and whatnot. They certainly did back in those days, but he don't have that now. But yet he goes back to Old Faithful because he has nothing else. How are you going to sit there and condemn people for allegedly harassing you while simultaneously trying to convince the people who are watching you now to go after them? Make it make sense.
People's lives who I ruined. Anyway, Lenny, thanks for another $2 super chat. He says, for Spasm the Detractors. Thank you, Lenny. All right, so guys, we're at $73 of support. I'm going to continue now. Let's start the next stage. Let's see if in the next 90 minutes I can finish this stage. It'd be great if I could finish Ancestral Forge by the end of the stream. Okay? Now, please support the stream. Let's hit the goal by the end of the stream. We're doing well. We got great momentum all week long. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we hit all the goals. Let's hit the goal now. Let's get closer to DSP tries it. Let's keep that momentum. All right? Sound good? Thank you. And if there are contributions, I will check periodically to see if we're getting closer to the goal. Okay? Sweet. All right. Here we go. Okay, guys. Welcome back. It's Ancestral Forge, Chapter 9 of Doom the Dark Ages. Here we go.
Jesus Christ. Holy shit. That's tough. That's tough. I don't go over the begging segments nearly as much as I should. Big ups to Sunspot Gallery and Bacon Sweats. Holy shit. I need to start going. I need to go over the older ones that he did. I should do that because he's got bangers over there. Big ups to Sunspot Gallery. God dog, that boy's got bangers over there. Holy shit. Okay, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. He should be able to shill like everybody else, but he can't. That opportunity has not been made available to him, so he does what he does and whatnot. And apparently he's justified in doing it. He doesn't see the problem in it. He doesn't see the folly in it, so why should you? And if you don't like him, or if you don't like the content, you shouldn't have an opinion on it. You should just leave and never come back. That's an interesting way of getting rid of your problems, but alrighty, Phil. Alrighty. Okay, so see, let's go here. Let's go to Gout Rushmore. And big ups to Chia. And let's go ahead and give you guys closing thoughts, and I'll let you guys continue to go on with your day. I gotta tell you, one of the more fascinating facets of DSP, Darkside Phil Burnell, Dark Geppetto, is a lot of his problems, if not almost all of them, to be honest, are self-inflicted. They're completely and utterly self-inflicted. And because he is so used to memory holding shit, or he's so used to falling through the cracks and getting away with stuff, kind of like what Review Tech USA did until the last couple of years. Because of those circumstances, or what he believes should be his circumstances, he should be able to say whatever he wants and just move on with his day. He's actually complained about this before, where people were taking clips of shit that he said and we're spreading it online. And he said, well, that's not fair. I said what I said on my platform, or I said what I said on my Twitter. I didn't know that it could reach public consumption. Actually, here, let me give you that one. Actually, the first one's a good analogy, but the second one's a much better example. Not analogy, a situation. All right, let's go back with the latter. Okay, so DSP, when he did the State of Decay 2 debacle, you know what one of his justifications were besides his depression and all that lame ass shit? Because that came later. His main reasoning behind it was, oh, well, it's my own personal Twitter. I didn't know that everybody else could see it outside of my followers. He really said that. He legitimately said that. And then he turned it around and said, oh, well, it's my detractors' fault for bringing attention to it. And then he went into, I took it out of context, my depression, so on and so forth, Space Needle, yada, 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 yada. So, and now, obviously, all of that's a blatant lie. But the fact that he would lie about it in the way that he chose to lie about it is what makes it even more amusing. And to be honest, I think it speaks to his character as a whole. You can't sit there and talk shit to somebody or talk shit about someone and then beg to them for help later. It just doesn't work that way. And DSP's understanding of human psychopathy, if you're not missing chromosomes and shit, or if you don't have some other problem, is the wildest shit. Because he really believes that he should be able to say and do whatever he wants on his platform, and that's isolated. It shouldn't affect him in the overall. Not understanding or not realizing that you're on the internet. You're in an open market, right? Available for public consumption, not just the people in your audience, but anybody. And you can be praised and criticized in equal measure. If that, ladies and gentlemen, yet again, is not mental illness, I don't know what is. You can't justify begging. You know what I'm saying? If he's as educated as he says he is, if he's as smart as he says he is, if he's as able-bodied, which that's obviously not true, but whatever, if he's as able-bodied as he says he is, then why isn't he out there putting the best foot forward? Not just for himself, ladies and gentlemen, but for one of the many shields that he likes to throw out there for his family. Something to think about. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. I'll catch you guys for the next one of these, whenever that may be. Hopefully sooner than later. Looking wild, bro. Holy shit. Holy shit. I definitely need to go over more of these begging segments. These things are fucking crazy. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Snort Report. This has been DSP News. Always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh, yes. A GTG Network and Productions. For the Snort Report, SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company. Our Snorts Gin and Tonic, and Tim Snortons. I've been, and all of our other subsidiaries and affiliates. I've been your host / anchor GTG, and I'm signing off. Just take care of yourselves, people. Just take care of yourselves. Later.
Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.